So I'm going to give you the breakdown. I'm going to go into the little bit of this article and then give you my opinion about Mike Babcock becoming the next head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And yeah, so he's expected to become the next head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Babcock, 60, last coached the Toronto Maple Leafs for 5 seasons before he was fired in November of 2019. He had an 8-year contract with the Leafs that ran through June 30th of this year. So he's still technically, he was still going to be technically under a deal right this season. After June 30th, he's expected to join Columbus. Blue Jackets missed for the 3rd straight season in a row the playoffs. But is that really a shocker? Yeah, you brought in Gaudreau, but you have a lot of young guys and unproven players that, that's not really a recipe to being a playoff or Stanley Cup contender. You know what? I'm just going to talk about, I'm going to go right to just cut the fat, go right to the issue here. Let's talk about Shanahan's quote when he fired Mike Babcock in 2019. We have to evolve. We all came from a certain generation where things occurred to us as players that we just sort of accepted. We all have to do a better job of just creating the kind of environment on the ice and off of it. Let's look at this roster. I mean, Gaudreau, 29. Boone Jenner, 29 years old. Patrick Laine, 25. Like, is Patrick Laine going to work in a Babcock system? I'm not really sure. And I'm looking at this roster. Are they going to be here competing for a playoff spot next year? I just don't see it. Now, there's some young, promising players that could turn into something. But Babcock, I just don't know. People could argue that 2008 he won the Stanley Cup. But with that loaded Detroit Red Wings, I feel like anyone could have been behind that bench and rose Lord Stanley Cup. I don't think that's super impressive. And if you looked at the stops afterwards, right, with the Toronto, with all that talent, all that young talent, he didn't help foster them to get them better. It seemed like he pitted some of those players against one another, just made certain players whipping boys. And Commodore, I mean, he's infamously known for his hatred of Babcock, but he's not the only player that has had negative things to say about him. Babcock would have to completely change his coaching style to be successful in the NHL today. Players are not going to want to be talked down to like toddlers or treated in a disrespectful manner. And Babcock, more than anybody, he puts his own ego in front of the team. Babcock's all about Babcock. Babcock loves himself some Babcock. And that's, at the end of the day, he's just such an egotistical person from interviews and post-game interviews and things of that ilk. He just kind of comes off as a pompous prick. And I usually don't say that on this channel. I try to say a little bit more neutral. I'm just not a big fan of Mike Babcock and some of the shenanigans he was up to as a head coach. Is he good with the X's and O's? Yeah, he's a pretty good coach when it comes to the X's and O's. I mean, he has won over 700 games at the NHL level. I'm not saying he is deprived of good tactics, but the intangibles I don't think are there from him as a head coach. And maybe time away made him kind of mature and realize, like, okay, I can't be treating star players or just even NHL players this way anymore. They don't really respond to it. I gotta, really look at myself and look inward and, fix those issues. But until I see it with Babcock, I don't know. I just highly doubt it. I don't think this is a great hire. I think this might end up biting him in the butt. But I hope I'm wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong on that. Maybe Babcock has truly changed and turned over a new leaf. But just color me unimpressed and just say I'm a little bit skeptical. I'd like to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Do you think this is a good hiring, a bad hiring, or just kind of average? I definitely want to hear your thoughts down below. I'm Captain Paul, and I'll see you in the next one.